When you think of the word Bofors, your first thought comes to their iconic 40mm automatic AA gun used by dozens of nations throughout history. You may even think of some of their tank designs in video games, such as the IKV-90B in World of Tanks or the VE-AK-40 in War Thunder. But what do you think about this? Let's start with some backstory. Anyone who knows Swedish tank development in the 1940s knows that a vast majority of armored vehicle development projects and designs came from the Landsverk company. However, even though Bofors was known for their guns and developed some vehicles in the 1930s, they began dipping their toes into tank development again with a few interesting projects, which I'll probably cover in later videos. But recently, I may have stumbled onto some of their most bonkers designs of the period. While I was doing some research in the Swiss National Archives, I found a brochure called Broschüre der Firma Bofors über Panzergeschütze. There wasn't anything too outrageous in the first few pages. There's pictures of their new twin 40mm anti-aircraft turret, and description summaries of their new 7.5cm tank gun and 10.5cm howitzer. But I didn't expect to see vehicles such as these. For reference, most Swedish armored vehicle designs from this period have already been discovered and discussed by SP15 and Renhanzui back in 2015-2016. To find something completely new from Sweden, it completely flabbergasted me. The first vehicle, PR3960, is reminiscent of a German Heuschreck 10, a relatively light vehicle mounting a 10.5cm howitzer in a fully traversable turret, meant for indirect fire purposes. However, this vehicle contained a new magazine loading system that gave the gun a firing rate of up to 60 rounds per minute on a howitzer in 1945. Specifically September 12, 1945, and if my research is correct, this is the patent of this same loading system, filed less than 1 month before on August 20th, 1945. The magazine system is loaded from above. While the number of rounds isn't specified, it mentions there would be space for a few rounds, allowing for a short burst of fire for the weapon. With this in mind, we move on to something a little scarier. This is PR3957, probably the Swedish equivalent of a Wunderwaffe. Unlike the previous vehicle, the 957 is armed with a high-velocity 10.5cm L50 gun, seemingly intended for both anti-tank and anti-aircraft use. This cannon has the same magazine loader assist system as the previous vehicle and would fire 16.5 kilo shells at 900 meters per second, making the gun comparable ballistically to the 105mm T5E1 on the American T29 or the 100mm D10T on the Soviet T54. However, due to the magazine system we previously discussed, it would have around 10 to 12 rounds of ammunition ready to fire in quick succession whenever necessary. This vehicle is also equipped with two 20mm machine guns on the roof, presumably for the tank commander and the loader, and a crew member beside the driver in the hull manned the 8mm machine gun. The vehicle is said to have stowage for 75 shells, and based on the size of the engine compartment, likely would have had the Volvo A8B V8 engine, which would produce around 410 horsepower. Because of how the document was scanned, we can't tell exactly how much the vehicle would have weighed, but I would guess 32, maybe even 42 tons. The vehicle is described as having strong armor, though I'd be surprised if it had anything more than like 80mm of frontal armor. The last vehicle, PR3959, shares the same hull dimensions as the previous vehicle, but instead mounts a 15cm howitzer in an open casemate, very much resembling an oversized IKV-72. This vehicle has no magazine for the main gun, but still retains a 20mm gun for anti-aircraft use. The gun would be capable of high elevation angles, meaning it likely would have been capable of indirect fire. Finally, the vehicle is to weigh 32 tons and is described as having strong armor, though it's likely similar to its turreted counterpart. It's hard to know for certain with current information what these vehicles were for. Both the brochure as well as copies of the magazine system patent are in French, implying an attempt to sell these vehicles to France, but they were found in the Swiss archives. A colleague of mine was unable to find anything about Bofors in 1945 in a brief French archive search too. Swiss military documents are almost exclusively in German, even though French is a national language, leaving intentions for Swiss sales inconclusive. What we do know for certain is this magazine system philosophy was held by Bofors, and likely evolved into the vehicle known as the SAV 2012-1948. We know this vehicle was intended for export and indigenous use, but the project was also scrapped. These vehicles would have been at the technological forefront of tank building for any nation in 1945, and one can only imagine what these vehicles could have been capable of in combat. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos on tank history like this one.